Good morning, everybody. What's going on, crypto universe? Lots to talk about, guys. So much has happened this weekend, but it feels also like so little has happened in the Bitcoin world. I feel like alts have been continuously exploding. There's lots to talk about on that front, but I definitely want to get started with Bitcoin. Okay, so first things first, I want to give y'all the high level overview. All right, so what we have right now is again this kind of I would say flag. It's a flag, pennant, triangle, something that's sitting atop of this pull right here, right? There's no other way to look at it really. If you look at this as being a flag pull, right? This could be your pennant that you could draw kind of like this, okay? And that's how I kind of see this movement that we've had so far. I feel like this is a contraction and a consolidation that's happening. And once we get that big breakout, I've told y'all before that all you really have to do is do a measured move of that pole, right? So if we take that pole from this bottom right here to this top, and say we get that breakout today or tomorrow, okay, above this trend line, well, that breakout take us to about $15,150. That's a pretty solid breakout. And that's just the measured move. I mean, it's possible that we could go higher, okay? But I want to show you guys something else that's developing on the smaller time frames, so we can see exactly what's going on internally in this price action too. So first, let's dive down to the 4-hour. Okay, 4-hour. Here's something that I find interesting. Okay, over the last several days, what we've done is we've maintained and closed out a couple of key levels that we broke down below, like this area right here, which was previous monthly open, and then even over here, we had broken below the weekly open. That was a previous weekly open, not the current one. But the point is, until last night, right, we had reclaimed the monthly open right there, the weekly open right there, and we tested it as support multiple times. So we refused to break down below either. So what we've done, okay, so what the bulls have done effectively is they've stated that, all right, well, we've done our job of pushing Bitcoin back up to the weekly open. Now let's retest this key high right here, which is about, I want to say, I think this is technically, a big resistance level right there. Okay, so that's about $12,050. So the bulls are looking at $12,050 to challenge it and see if they can finally break through it. Now here's again something that's happening internally. Actually, you know what? Let me do this. Let me pull up a different chart because I have a triangle that's made out on this chart right here. Okay. Okay, well, maybe not. Let's see. Let's go to the 12-hour. Okay. The 12-hour chart kind of looks like that, right? What I see in this area that's developing, I told you all before that on a daily that looks like a pennant, right? But more so, it actually looks to me like a continuation triangle. And I've told you all before, continuation triangles simply have to look like A, B, C, D, E patterns, okay? And it's not necessary that the triangle has to be perfect where each part of the, A, B, C, D, E has to touch the trend line. The only requirements of triangles is that they just have to compress. That's it. So the triangle could literally be, like this, like this, like this, like this, and then start breaking out from here. That could be your compression, and that's fine. So being able to draw out counts when you draw A, B, C, D, E, that is critically important in helping you understand how to time the market properly so you can get into a trade not too early or not too late. Now, when it comes to the price action right now, personally, I definitely think this is the ABCDE triangle, and I think it's looking to break out. The invalidation stands as is, okay? If we break below this key low right here of the C wave, which is around $11,050 or so, that means that this is not a triangle anymore. That means we will have broken below this trend line and it's quite possible that we head down lower. Lower as in, it could, very well be in this area right here. Excuse me. This is the liquidity area, right? Because if you kind of draw this right here, excuse my voice, folks. All right, so if we draw this blue box right here, you can see all these wicks that tapped into this area but then took off. So we have a lot of long liquidity just sitting right there, meaning that if price were to somehow come to this area, it would stop out a ton of people. When a ton of people get stopped out, that means liquidity is generated or curated in a sense, because longs being stopped out effectively gives other longs place to jump back in, or shorts to close out in here. Okay, so it's possible that we do that, but do I think it's likely right now? I don't think so. I think we've created this ABCDE triangle, and to be honest, there's a higher chance and a higher likelihood that we're probably headed up. Okay, but again, if you want to watch for invalidations, you probably want to watch this one. Now you're probably thinking, okay, well, 11,050 is a pretty deep invalidation. Yeah, it is, but let's dig in a little bit closer, right? We can find other things on smaller time frames to show us where other invalidations could fall. Okay, so let's go to the 1 hour. Okay, so on the 1 hour, right, we can look at a couple different markers. This one being the first one, which is around 11,783. So let's just say $11,800. Okay, you can see all this across the board was a good amount of support. If you start breaking below that, right, then you have the next support right here, which is around 11,691. And if you start breaking below that, then you should start heading probably to the monthly open. So you can see, you could take it a couple different ways. You could say, okay, if I start seeing signs that price is heading down past 11,781 or so, this area, it's probably headed there. So you can give it these two markers as cushion, and you can say, all right, I'm willing to say that these two markers should be holding up. And if these two don't, you could probably cut out of your trade. Or you can even go short all the way down to the monthly open, or possibly, like I said, that 11,050 low down here, okay? But again, personally, I don't think that it is wise to short. I don't even think that, there's a high likelihood of this thing breaking down, because here's another thing that I spotted internally, right? So I showed you on the 12-hour count that I see the ABCDE triangle developing. Well, guess what else I see? I see another ABCDE triangle developing within this pattern right here, what we see so far. So we had that big push up for the top of the fifth, right? So the way you identify triangles is, you could find probably like so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this is the top of the fifth. And then within that, you can have a continuation correction, which is A, B, C right there, D right there, and this could be your E, your finishing E. That's it. We're done. From this, once we start breaking out this trend line and this trend line, we should start heading up higher towards 12,000. And the key marker to watch, obviously, is this one right here, 12,030. So remember, I told y'all on a daily perspective, that's a pretty big marker that goes across the board as resistance. You can see 12,030 or so. This was the main consolidation period right here before we sold off, double topped, and then sold off further. So I know for sure that once we start getting past this marker, okay, there's likelihood that we're probably pushing much higher towards 12,200, maybe 13,000, maybe even higher than that. Now let's go a step further. Say you didn't want to deal with the triangles. Say you just wanted to play the horizontals. Well, like I said earlier, right? If we go back on the 12-hour count right here, okay, you simply got to wait for, two different things technically, okay? First, you can wait for price to get above this high, because remember, this is the high of the, if we do this, whoops, I got to turn this magnet off. C, G, E, okay, drag this B up. So what you want to do is you want to see the breakout, take out the B wave high. Okay, that'll be your first big confirmation. It's definitely a solid confirmation that you're breaking out, because you're also breaking out above, this trend line technically, if you get past the B wave. Alternatively, you can say, okay, I want even a further confirmation. You can say, I want to wait above the beginning of the A wave right there. Okay, excuse me, folks. And that high is 12,163. So either way, there are numerous levels on the way up that you can wait for in terms of confirmation to say, hey, I'm going to jump in heavier, I'm going to go long, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, but that's how you can play the market. All right, you can wait for the breakout and then take the long trade. Alternatively, if you feel like we're going to start breaking down, well, this is probably the best time to go short. Okay, not investment advice, but if I were wanting to go short, I'd probably want to short this, thinking that this is going to fail to break out up, or fail to break, or I guess you could short around 12,000 or 12,100, and you think that that might be a fake out and we might dump. But again, I personally don't think it's wise to short such a big bullish continuation pattern, because this is what, beginning of August, we're now 17 days into it. This is a 17-day big continuation pattern that we see developing. The chances of this breaking up are pretty darn high. Okay, so unless this starts breaking down and taking out key levels, you got nothing to worry about, right? You gotta, sometimes, it's the whole idea of Occam's razor, right? The simplest idea, the simplest solution is often the best solution. Okay, people often try to find things that will be contrarian just to be contrarian, and it's not necessary. Sometimes the market actually gives you solid consolidation patterns where you can get in and make some really good money. And most people want to be contrarian just to be contrarian. Okay, so don't be that way. All right. Let's take a look at some other things, right? Let's take a look at ETH. Okay, so I've told y'all before, I'm a big fan of ETH. Not because just solely what the project is and what it stands for, but rather technically speaking, ETH is a runner. When it runs, boy, does it take off. It does not mess around. So what I see developing in ETH is possibly maybe inverse head and shoulders, like left shoulder, head, maybe right shoulder developing right there. Okay, but what I also see is, again, on a daily time frame, it's doing a pretty solid job. It came back towards its previous area that was resistance up here, tested it as support with this big wick, and hopefully, all right, from here it starts printing some nice bullish candles to start breaking out. Okay, for now, I do think that ETH is still kind of in this choppy little area. I like to see ETH start to push and break out before BTC, because it honestly has a much higher success rate. Whenever ETH starts to lead, Bitcoin definitely follows. And it's a pretty solid trade, because when ETH leads, Bitcoin is not too far behind, maybe 15 minutes away, maybe an hour away. In that time span, when Bitcoin starts breaking out, well, you got enough time. If you missed out on ETH, you can jump in on Bitcoin. Okay, now there's another asset that has been in the mix, and if you follow me on Twitter, I've made some very, I wouldn't say these are aggressive or wild claims, but I think they're true, because this is what I see in the market, and this is what the data shows me. Is what did I post? Let me see here. So I posted this right here yesterday, right? An unpopular opinion: Litecoin will be stronger in the next cycle, not ETH. Okay, now I just mean that, by the way, for the next 2 to 4 weeks. Okay, I'm not saying that like for the rest of the year or whatever, Litecoin is going to go lightning speed ahead of ETH. I don't think so. I just think that people are sleeping on Litecoin, and it has been producing a pretty solid structure, which I'm going to show you guys right now. All right, first things first, this area right here where it has consolidated into, this was a previous order block, right? We hammered this once, right? And now we're hammering it again twice. more than likely this thing, once it breaks out, there's really nothing else for it to head towards except this marker up here. It's 80 bucks almost, right? So say you got into a long right here, right? Well, that's a 23% gain. I mean, that's pretty damn good, right? So I'm thinking that, I think Litecoin, once it breaks out, it's probably going to start ripping up there, okay? But again, it all depends on Bitcoin. If and when Bitcoin breaks out, I'd probably say Litecoin is going to be a big runner, and so is ETH, to be honest. I just think percentage-wise, I think Litecoin has got much more room to the upside right now in terms of the next resistance level. All right, so do keep an eye on that. Let me see. Here's the CME chart, right? Nothing special on the CME chart. I do think it's really odd that we had a lot of volume going to this candle right here, but really not a whole lot of movement. Very tight candle. So I don't know. That kind of gives me a bit of caution, because sometimes when we see that, this tells me that there's buying happening, but the price ain't moving anywhere. And I don't know. Sometimes when you see multiple candles like that, like say, for example, today's candle, has more volume, like say a volume comes up all the way up till here, like that, and then this candle looks like this. Well, it tells me that something weird is happening, and it's possible that there's sell side absorption happening up here, meaning shorts are loading up. They're not letting the price budge up here, and it's possible that we might see a reversal down. There is still a pretty massive gap, remember, on CME right here, okay? So do be aware that, it's possible that we close that when people least expect it. Most things in financial markets, especially reversals, happen when people are most biased and when they least expect it. So the one thing I see in the market right now is people least expect the market to go down, and they're most bullish. That's just the case that I see right now. No one thinks that the market can come down, especially when it comes to assets like Link. Now, I'm a big fan of Link because I have spot Link, and I have a pretty sizable amount. But if you don't think that, this thing going up from, where is it, back here? Well, let's just pick from here, right? From here, once it broke out from $5 to where it is right now, it's gone up 270%, right? If you don't think that in less than, 1 month or so, or a month and a half, when an asset goes up so much, if you don't think that it can come down just as hard, you're crazy, man. I really think that you guys need to pay attention and be able to take profits, okay? Don't just wish and think that this has to keep going up. The party ends. Like I said, the music stops when people least expect it and when they're most bullish or most bearish, okay? So just please be careful, and please keep an eye on assets like this. Set alerts. This is why you have TradingView, or even come join our community. The Discord link is below. I typically warn people, whether it's, the free side or the Advantage side, what I'm seeing in the market. I make free videos like this. Especially our Advantage members, I let them know exactly what I'm doing in the market, whether I'm long or short, whether I'm buying an asset or selling it, where I'm taking profit, where I'm placing my stops. All right, you guys have been watching my videos for a while. You know exactly how I develop game plans, right? I'm never really risking more than 2% in my trade. I'm constantly moving up stops. I'm taking profit, never getting too greedy. That's how you want to play the market. All right. So we covered Link. Let's check out another asset. Let me see. So I had mentioned QuarkChain in a previous video. I'll link it by the end of this video. I told y'all why I believe this asset is going to be a massive one. It has huge upside potential, and we just read, I think last week, that QuarkChain was probably getting involved in the DeFi space as well. It was a big project from 2017, 2018. I also know some people, who have told me about QuarkChain doing big things behind the scenes. And I like this project. I like the team, and I like what they're developing, or what they're trying to develop rather. Okay. So I've listed out my reasoning for QuarkChain. So, here's the reasoning why, right? I've told y'all that Down here at the lows, I think there's big volume that came in, bought up the asset, and then from here, you know, they drove it up, they marked it up. From here, all we really want to see now is continuation to the upside. And if that's the case, well, from a weekly perspective, you know, here are some of my big targets. Okay, I know these are pretty massive targets, but I think at least target 1 and 2 are attainable. Okay, at least 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, they're a bit lofty, but you know, so is Lend going up, you know, 1,000 or 3,000%. So if Lend can do it, I don't see why QuarkChain can't, because QuarkChain is actually a legitimate project to me. I'm not saying that Lend is not, but QuarkChain is a pretty darn good project. So keep an eye on QuarkChain. All right, what I see in development is something massive. I'm going to keep pointing to this project over and over again, but do your own research, right? I'm not here to tell you to buy or sell. I'm telling you that I am long and strong in QuarkChain. And again, there's a video by the end of this one where you can watch it, what DeFi coins that I'm watching, you know, and why I believe QuarkChain has so much going for it. Okay, and I list a couple other coins that I'm investing in. So I think that's pretty much it, guys. I'm going to wrap it up here. Hope this analysis was helpful. Okay, y'all take care. Cheers, hit the thumbs up, and I'll talk to y'all soon.